At 2:13 in the morning, the old cinema played a movie with no projector, no audience, and one face in the screen. Mine. I froze with a mop in my hands as my own mouth on the screen slowly smiled, and then said my name. That was the first time I realized the cinema was not haunted. It was alive. My name is Eli Mercer. I was the night cleaner at the Regal Crown Theater, a dead old cinema at the edge of town. The place had been closed for years, but not really closed. The signs still flickered, sometimes. The doors still opened when they felt like it, and every night after the last employee left, I stayed behind with my bucket, my mop, and the feeling that something in the building was always watching me from the dark. People said the theater had bad history. 1 fire, 3 deaths, a dozen disappearances no one liked to talk about, but the rumor that stuck with everyone was older than the building itself. They said the theater was built over a room that should never have been found, a room where a demon had once been bound, a demon that loved stories, a demon that lived in shadows, mirrors, and old films. I laughed when I first heard that. I stopped laughing on my second week. It started small, a footprint in the dust. That's all. I had just finished cleaning Auditorium 3. Empty popcorn bags, sticky soda on the floor, the usual mess. I locked the doors behind me and went to check the lobby. When I came back, there was one wet footprint in the middle of the aisle. Barefoot, too large to be a child. The print led from the back row to the screen, and then it stopped. I told myself someone had broken in. That made sense until I saw the second mark, not on the floor, on the seat. A black handprint, fresh, glossy, as if something oily had just pressed itself there. I leaned closer. The smell hit me first. Burned plastic, rot, and something else. Something sharp, like old blood under hot metal. I backed away. Then I heard a sound from the projection booth. A soft clicking, like a film reel turning. But the projector was off. I knew it was off. I had shut down the whole system myself. Still, from above me, behind the glass, came the faint mechanical rattle of a movie starting up. A beam of light cut through the dark auditorium. I looked up. The screen was blank. Then a shape appeared. Not a picture. A silhouette. Tall. Bent wrong at the shoulders. Its head tilted like it was listening to me breathe. I stepped backward. The shape on the screen stepped. Forward. I ran. The next night I almost didn't come in. I stood outside the theater smoking a cigarette with shaking hands, staring at the marquee. Regal Crown. 3 letters were burned out. It read RELCWN, like the building itself had been eaten away. I told myself I was tired. That was all, just tired. I went in. The lobby lights were dimmer than usual. The ticket booth window was cracked, and the old red curtains near screen 1 were swaying. No windows were open, no vents were on, but the curtains moved anyway, slow and careful, like something hidden behind them was breathing. I did my rounds faster that night. I checked the concession stand. Empty. I checked the hallways. Nothing. I checked the men's room and found every mirror covered in fog. Inside the fog, 1 word had been written with a finger. Look up. I didn't. Not at first. I heard a whisper behind me, not a voice, a crowd, dozens of murmurs folding over each other in the dark. I turned around and saw nobody. Then the lights went out. Every light in the building died at once. For 3 full seconds there was nothing. No hum, no emergency glow, no exit signs, just black. Then the projector in Auditorium 2 kicked on. I heard it from the hallway. The sound was impossible. Old film whirring, a reel dragging, a machine waking up after years of sleep. I should have left. I know that now, but I didn't. I walked toward the sound, because underneath the fear there was something else. Curiosity. And maybe that was the first trap. When I opened the auditorium door, I saw the screen lit up. A movie was playing, but not a normal movie. It was grainy, black and white, silent. A man in a suit was standing in the center of the frame, facing the camera. He had no eyes, just smooth skin where they should have been. He raised one finger to his lips, and the projector behind me made a clicking sound, like a finger snapping shut on a rat trap. The screen flickered. The man on it smiled. Then he pointed directly at me. I turned to run. The door was gone, not locked, gone. The wall behind me was solid brick now, as if the hallway had never existed. The auditorium seats creaked, one by one, like people were sitting down, in the dark, waiting. I did the only thing I could think of. I screamed, and the screen answered. The next morning I found my supervisor, Darren, in the office. He was pale and irritable, tapping a pen against the desk. I told him there was something wrong with the building. He didn't. Look up. Lights? No. Vandals? No. Then what? I stared at him. I think something is in the theater. That got his attention. He finally looked at me with those dead, tired eyes and said, "You're the third cleaner this year to say that." I went cold. What happened to the others? He leaned back in his chair and didn't answer for a long time. Then he said, "One quit. One disappeared. One walked into the projection booth and never came out." I asked him why he still kept the place open. He laughed once, a dry, nervous sound. "You think I keep it open? Eli, this theater never stays closed. We just pretend." That should have been the end of it. But that night I found the projection booth door open. Inside there was dust everywhere except for one clean path across the floor, as if someone had walked there recently. There was no projector light, no film loaded. But the booth smelled hot, like old electronics. And on the wall, written in dust with a single finger, was a sentence I wish I had never read. "It wants the last man who stayed." Under it was a date. I knew that date, because it was the year the theater burned. And suddenly, all the little rumors I'd heard started arranging themselves into something real. The fire, the disappearances, the locked auditorium no one used, the old local story about a midnight screening where everyone who attended came out changed, or didn't come out at all. I went back to the lobby and found the theater's basement key hanging from a nail behind the register. I had never seen it before. It was wet, cold, almost as if it had just been pulled out of water. I stared at it for a long time. Then I did the stupidest thing a man can do in a haunted building. I followed the clue. The basement steps groaned under my weight. Each one seemed older than the last. The air turned colder with every step down. By the time I reached the bottom, I could see condensation on the walls. And at the end of the hallway, behind a rusted steel door, I heard something moving, not walking, dragging, slow, patient. I opened the door. The room beyond was not supposed to exist. It was larger than the theater above. Much larger. A hidden chamber sunk deep under the foundation. The walls were lined with cracked mirrors. The floor was marked with a circle of black salt and burned wood, and in the center sat an old film projector chained to the ground. Not bolted, chained. Like someone had once been afraid it might run away. There were film canisters stacked against the wall. Dozens of them, each one labeled in a different handwriting. Scene 1, Scene 2, Scene 3, Final Reel. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped my flashlight. Then I saw the wall. Hundreds of names scratched into the concrete. Some were old, some were recent. I recognized a few from town, a missing girl, a retired usher, one of the previous cleaners. And then, near the center, a name I knew, Darren's father. Darren had told me once, in a drunken moment, that his father vanished in this theater when he was 12. He never spoke about him again. Now I understood why. There was a notebook on a crate beneath the projector. I opened it. The pages were full of notes, drawings, and frantic warnings. The writing got worse as the pages went on. It entered through the screen. It cannot be seen directly, only reflected. It feeds on fear. but it grows stronger when watched. It copies voices. It can only leave when a viewer completes the final showing. Do not let it finish the movie. Do not answer when it calls your name. If you hear applause, it means it has already chosen you. My throat tightened. The last page had one sentence, written larger than the rest. The demon is not in the theater. The theater is the demon. A sound came from behind me, a soft clap, then another slow applause. I spun around. The mirrors on the walls were no longer reflecting the room. They were reflecting an audience. Rows and rows of faceless people in old-fashioned clothes, sitting in the dark, watching me. One by one, their heads turned toward the center mirror, toward me. Then every reflection smiled at once. And from somewhere above the projector, a voice whispered, "Show us what happens next, Eli." I ran. I should say I tried to run, but the basement changed as I moved. Hallways stretched, doors shifted, stairs led back to the same room. Every time I turned a corner, I found another screen, another projector, another mirror showing a version of me that was always a second slower. Then the power came on, not the building's power, something deeper, something ancient. The projector in the center room roared to life, and a beam of light slammed into the wall. A film started playing. On the screen I saw the theater in its original years, packed with people, laughing, smoking, dressed in old clothes. The crowd on screen was watching something I couldn't see. Then the image changed. The audience stopped laughing. One by one, they began turning toward the camera, toward me. Their faces were blank, their mouths stretched open too far. And standing in the aisle, half hidden by the flicker of the projector, was a man in a black suit. No eyes, no shadow, just a shape carved out of darkness. He was smiling the same way the figure had smiled in Auditorium 2. Then he stepped forward, not into the screen, out of it. The air turned icy. I could hear my own heartbeat. He reached the edge of the projector light and stopped. Up close, he wasn't human. His skin looked like singed paper. His smile was stitched wrong, and inside his mouth was not a throat. It was a tunnel. A dark, endless corridor with tiny flickers of light moving far inside it, like trapped souls trying to escape. He spoke in Darren's voice. "Do you know why they built me here?" I couldn't answer. He tilted his head. "To give people a place to watch the dark. They thought if they made a theater for fear, they could control it." His smile widened. "They fed me stories. They fed me screams. They fed me endings." He took another step. "And now I'm hungry again." The mirrors around the room burst to life with movement. Hands pressed against the glass from the other side. Faces appeared. Mouths screaming silently. The old audience, the missing, the dead, they were all inside the reflections, trapped in endless repetition. Then I heard my own voice from one of the mirrors. Not a recording. Me, begging, pleading, calling for help. I looked and saw myself inside the mirror, kneeling in the projection booth, blood on my face, eyes wide with terror. The reflection mouthed one word. "Run." I did. The demon laughed. The sound was like 1,000 film reels snapping at once. The projector beam flared brighter. The film on the wall changed again, and now I saw the final scene. Me, standing in the basement, watching the movie. The demon behind me. My own body in the reflection turning slowly to smile at the camera. I screamed and slammed the projector with both hands. The machine exploded in sparks. The room shook. The mirrors shattered. The film reel tore free and wrapped around my arm like a living snake. The demon surged forward. Cold hands grabbed my throat. I felt its fingers digging into my skin, not pressing but entering. Then the room went silent. The projector died. The lights died. Everything died. In the darkness, something whispered into my ear. "You were always the last man." I woke up in the lobby. Morning light was leaking through the front doors. My body hurt, my throat was raw. My arms were covered in cuts. For one perfect second, I thought it had all been a nightmare. Then I saw the marquee. The burned-out letters were fixed. The sign now read, Eli Mercer's final screening. I stumbled to the front desk. The logbook was open. There was a new entry. Night cleaner, Eli Mercer status, missing. My signature was already on the line. Fresh ink, still wet. I looked around, panicked, and noticed the theater was clean. Too clean. No dust, no trash, no spills. The seats were full, not with people, with shadows, hundreds of them, sitting perfectly still in every row, facing the screen, waiting. The projector started again. I turned toward the auditorium doors just as the screen lit up with a live image of the lobby, of me, standing there, confused, breathing hard, watching myself from inside the movie. Then slowly, the version of me on the screen smiled. It walked closer to the camera, closer than humanly possible, until its face filled the entire screen, and it whispered the words I had heard on my first night in the basement. "Show us what happens next, Eli." Behind me, the theater doors locked with a loud metallic slam. The audience in the dark began to clap. One pair of hands, then another, then 1,000. I turned to run, but the exit signs were gone. The walls were gone. The lobby was gone. All that remained was the screen and the thing inside it. It leaned closer, pressing its hand against the glass of the image. My reflection copied the motion a second later. Then the screen cracked. The hand reached through. Cold fingers closed around my wrist. And as the darkness pulled me in, I heard my own voice coming from somewhere deep inside the projector. Not screaming, not begging, laughing, because now I understood. The cinema had never needed an audience. It needed a keeper. And tonight, I became the movie.